Hello, I'm Shennah from Know How Sewing Essentials. Today we're going to show you through our Jack range of sewing machines. We're going to start with our more basic machine and head through to the upper end. First of all, we have here the Jack F4. The Jack F4 is a straight stitch sewing machine where you can adjust your stitch length and the speed of the machine. So it's like a traditional machine, but it is only a straight stitch. We have a knee lift down here, so we can use that to lift the presser foot. So with this machine, at the moment I've got it set on a slow speed. So when I put my foot down on the presser foot, which is located on the base of the frame down here below me, and away the machine goes. As you can see, when I've got it quite down hard, it is still only going quite slow as I have the speed set low. I can adjust the speed up here on the control panel by pressing these buttons to increase the maximum speed. When I wish to rotate the fabric, I lift the presser foot at the back, turn my fabric, lower the presser foot, and away I go again. This time, as you can see, it's going faster as I've increased the speed. If I get near the end of my seam and I just want to do an additional stitch, rather than using the presser foot, there is a small blue button just to the right here. When I press that, it takes a single half stitch at a time. Half stitch down, half stitch up. That will just fill any spaces I have. So that is the Jack F4, and it's priced at $1,650. This is the Jack A4S. This machine is ideally suited to all garment making, quilting, curtain making. It's a fully electronic machine. When we looked at the previous model, it was a very basic straight stitch machine. This is also a straight stitch machine, but we have a lot more options here. We can change our stitch length, we can change our machine speed. We have some unique features on this machine. So we have a knee lift like we did on the previous one, but we also have a little sensor here. Now that sensor can be set so that when I pass my fabric across it, the presser foot will automatically lift. To set that sensor, I just press a button here on the screen and I get a little sensor picture here. Now you'll notice when I move this fabric across the sensor, the presser foot automatically lifts up. The advantage of that is if I have two pieces of fabric that I've carefully placed together, ready to sew, if I take my hands off the fabric, well, it could get some slippage, so that's a really good advantage there. We can also set forward tacks and back tacks. These are primarily used in curtain making and in garment construction, but not so much in quilting. A back tack will do a couple of stay stitches at the beginning and at the end of your quilting. At the moment I've got that turned off, so I'll show you how the machine operates. To start sewing, I simply press down on the presser foot and the machine moves as per a normal machine. When I'm finished sewing, I currently have it set with my needle to finish in the down position and my presser foot up. Again, I can change these functions using the control panel here. If I press back with the heel of my foot, it will cut the fabric and I can simply remove my section. So I'll set a couple of those functions now. So initially I'm going to set it to do a tack at the front. So by pressing the button, it tells me I have the tacks on at the front. Now you'll notice when I slide across, up comes my presser foot. When I start sewing, you will hear the machine go backwards and forwards a couple of times and then begin its stitching in a forward direction. To the end of my stitch, where I use the back of my heel to cut and remove the fabric. These can be set at the front and at the back. So I'll turn the front ones off and put the rear tacks on. This time as I pass under and begin my sewing, it begins sewing as per normal. When I get to the end and I stop and I press down to cut the thread, you'll notice it do a back tack at the end. It will take a couple of stitches backwards and then forwards again. Then I have unthreaded the machine. So let me just correct that quickly. Once I've got that threaded up, I will show you how easy it is to change the settings for the presser foot and the needle position. Always have the little pair of snips handy with you at the machine. Now I'll use some slightly darker fabric this time. So I'll slide over, there goes up my presser foot. And it has a sensing timer, so the presser foot can be set to stay up for varying amounts of time. Some people like it to come down quite quickly. Other people like it to stay up for a longer period so they can get their fabric in position. So first of all, I'll turn off the back tacks. Now, if I use the needle button, I now have a picture here that shows the needle above the fabric. So when I finish stitching this time, get to the end and I take my foot off, you'll notice that the needle has finished in the up position as well as the presser foot in the up position. To change the stitch length on this machine, the dial located here, I usually use it on a 2.5 to 3, but to change it I press the reverse button and then rotate it. There's a little button on top, you'll see. Rotate it to the position I want, that's 2.25. Release the reverse button, and now I'll have shorter stitches. When I'm ready to reverse, I can do it two ways. I can press the reverse lever here, so I'll sew along, get towards the end, reverse and forward again, or I also have a reverse lever located down here. There is also the single stitch button here, so I can press a single stitch at a time to make it forward on. The other feature on this machine is just around the back here. There is a very small button that it controls the lighting. So at the moment it's on full lighting. I'll try not to put my hand in the way. When I press that button, you can see the light dims, dimmer, off, and then full lighting. That's very useful if you're sewing in different environments. At night, sometimes the very bright light can be hurtful to your eyes, so you'll just dim it down a little bit. The other features on this machine, we have increment markings on our needle plate, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 and 1 inch. They are really useful. You really don't need to use a 1/4 inch foot with this machine. You can just use that guide along the side there. We also have a bobbin winder located on the top here, and the bobbin can be wound independently or it can be wound whilst you're running the machine. It has a concealed oil pan, whereas the older industrial machines, and in fact this first one we looked at here has an open oil pan underneath. This has a concealed oil pan, so there's no chance of oil spilling all over your floor. There's a little oil indicator here, and if I put my fabric under now, I'll use the knee lift this time. If I'm to run my fabric under really fast, you'll see the oil flicking up here. Or maybe not going fast enough. There is a little oil light that comes on when you start your machine on the side here to indicate if it needs to have oil added, and if you do, the oil plug is simply located on the top here. The bobbin's very accessible on this machine. Just have a standard little bobbin down here, and you can access it one of two ways. You can do what I did and just reach under the machine, or you can slide the cover plate across. The A4S also has a USB port on the side here. That can be used for a number of things. You can simply plug your phone in to charge. You can have your computer plugged in there so that you can be watching a YouTube video and following along on your machine. But it's a really good bonus to have that on the side. So that's the A4S. And and it does also have a speaking option. At the moment I have it turned off. I will turn it back on for you and you'll see what it does. So it has three options. We can have silence, which is what we've just had, or we can have in Chinese, or we can have English. So I've set it to English. Put my bobbin back in. Now this time when I touch the buttons, you'll hear it tell me what I've actually selected. So if I press this button here with this is the tack on, it will tell us.
Star text on.
And if I turn them off again.
Double star text off.
So each of the features that you press here will indicate verbally to you what you've pressed in case you're confused. Same with the
Nicker off.
They call this the nicker, it's the sensor. Adjusting the speed is quite simple. So there's the plus and minus buttons here. So this one goes up to 5,000, and I normally have it set at about 3,000 just for normal stitching. So that's the Jack A4S. We'll go and have a look next at the A6F.
please? How much is
The
it?
price of the Jack A4S is $2,640. Here we are again, and now we've got the Jack A6F. The control panel for the A6F is very similar to the control panel of the A4S. The difference between the two machines are quite varied though. The A6F has a 30 centimetre throat space as opposed to the A4S, which was 25 centimetres. The main difference, however, is that the A6F is a needle feed machine. What that means is that as the needle penetrates the fabric, the needle goes down and it moves back with the fabric and the feed dogs. So if you have a look down here, I'm just going to manually turn the wheel. You'll see the needle goes down into the hole, and as I continue to rotate, you'll see the needle and the feed dogs have moved back before coming back up to their original position. This is a very useful feature if you're using very fine slippery fabrics like linings, satins and silks, because if you can imagine, once the needle has penetrated the layers of fabric, they are not able to separate and slide. This stops a lot of the movement we get when we have two different fabrics, and so I'll demonstrate that. So it also has the sensor system, as did the A4S. So it's lifted. When I put the fabric under, I can press my foot on the pedal and away we go. A couple of the other features that are different, so we still have the option to put on our back tacks. We still have an option to have our needle down and our presser foot up, either or. One of the other differences here is that the speaker button here, where on the A4S we had to go into the menus to turn off the speaker, on the A6F you can simply depress the button.
Speaker on.
And it turns the speaker on, and it is very loud. Press it
Speaker
again,
off.
and the speaker's off. So we don't need to access the menu to be able to do that. We also have different lighting. So again, we have buttons at the rear. They're just out of your sight, but they're underneath the throat of the machine. And there's yellow light and white light. So I'll show you through these. This is the white light. And as you can see, it gets slightly dimmer as we go till it's off. And the yellow one, you can see the change in colour there through the different ones. Okay, so that is our, I'll just get it back to bright for us. We still have the same buttons here on the side. We have our single stitch, so if I press it, we take a single stitch, and again, the reverse button. So I'm sewing along, I can go backwards simply by using this button, or my main reverse lever located over on the right hand side to reverse. The stitch length again is adjustable by the dial here, and our speed is also adjustable here. We also have an additional gauge at the bottom on this one. It's probably just out of your view, but we have an additional oil gauge down the bottom here. As with the A4S, we have the USB port located down here, and the bobbin winder is also located on the top. The A6F is an ideal machine, as I said, for using fabrics of different weights that are likely to move away from each other. It is, however, not going to be suitable for free motion quilting because of the fact that the needle in fact moves with the feed dogs. If you're wanting to do free motion quilting, you need something more like the A4S where the needle remains stationary. The Jack A6F is $2,900 and it's a great little machine. And now we have the Jack 2030G. The 2030G is a walking foot model, primarily designed for very heavy garment making such as bag straps, leather work, etc. The 2030G has a couple of options. We still again have our nice little control panel here, electronic control panel, where we can set back tacks and forward tacks. We have adjustable stitch length down here, bobbin winder again, and we have two dials here. One is the pressure for the outer part of the foot, and the other is the pressure for the inner part of the foot. We still have our reverse button on the right hand here, as well as one located next to our thumb and our single stitch. So I'll just run this machine forward, and additionally it also has the knee lift. So once I've got my fabric underneath, I can start sewing. If I want to do one additional stitch, again, I just press the button here. Oh, that was the reverse one. And you can see it takes one stitch. When I'm ready to lift it, I can either use the lever up here to lift the presser foot or the knee lift. I can rotate that round, drop it back down again, and away I go again. Now you can see this is quite a heavy piece of fabric. I'll stop here and I'll remove it. And trim it up and let you see just how heavy this fabric is. So this is some very, very heavy denim with some leather around it, and here's a solid piece of leather here where it's stitched through 5 layers in this case. So the Jack 2030G, again suited for bag making leatherwork, is $2,999. Also in our Jack range, we have a great range of scissors, ranging from 12 inch, 11, 10 and 9 inch. These scissors are fantastic and they'll cut through anything. I'll give you a demo on just a piece of cotton. So this is the 12 inch pair. As you can see, they're big enough to cut the chook with, but don't do that with your fabric scissors. So beautiful straight cuts. Look at that, no problems at all. The Jack's range also have the Jack hardness scissors. The hardness scissors are $25 a pair, but for all of the scissors we have today, they're all 20% off at the moment. So regularly our 12 inch scissors are $62, remember 20% off, down to our 9 inch ones, which are $42, also 20% off. So the Jack hardness scissors are designed to cut through multiple layers at a time. So I'll grab my little piece of fabric here and we'll give them a run for their money. So we've got quite a little chunk of fabric there. Using my scissors. Now these particular ones, the hardness scissors, are left or right-handed. The other Jack scissors that we have here, the larger ones, we only currently have right-handed ones available. But as you can see, that has cut through all layers without any problems at all. And we also have the Jack snips. We have the large ones at $8, the smaller ones are $6, and again 20% off. For all of our wonderful Jack products that you've seen behind us here, we have a large range of spare parts and feet available for you. So please don't hesitate in contacting us to come and have a look at these great products.